All right. I want to call up our next investor, who this should be a lot of fun as well. Is a friend, is also part of the Antler family. She was part of cohort 1. So she is definitely been in the ecosystem, has been where a lot of you founders are at. So she's founded herself. She currently sits at Enza Capital. I'd like to call up Nonnie Burbidge. Come on up. Can we... Am I going to have to do this every time with y'all? All right, thank you. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Latitude59, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here with you. So, as Alan said, my name is Nonnie, Wanjihia Burbidge, a little bit long. And I am an investment principal for Enza Capital. First of all, Enza comes from the Zulu word to create, to build, and to empower. And that is essentially what we are trying to do. So Enza is a multi-stage Pan-African venture capital firm. We invest pre-seed to Series B, and we invest a minimum of $250,000 up to a potential $5 million. And what we are trying to do is to back exceptional African or founders based in Africa that are using technology to solve large and meaningful problems across the continent. So, what is our investment thesis? We are very much a commercial investor, but impact is incredibly important to us. Ultimately, we are looking to improve the lives of everyday Africans and to create sustainable livelihoods. And so, first of all, we are deeply, deeply tech-driven. We're one of the only firms that has 2 CTOs in residence. What does that mean? It means that we can do our own tech due diligence. It means that our CTOs can really support our company founders, CPOs, and CTOs with office hours. And we have built a CTO community where our founders and their CTOs can really engage with one another, give each other advice, problem solve, and just support one another. And so we definitely believe that that is one of our edges. Next, as I mentioned, impact. Impact is really, really critical to us. So we are looking to work out the metrics alongside our founders of what matters to them. And we also want to track these to keep them focused on ensuring that they're hitting some of these metrics. It could be anything like, for example, income generation or revenue generation potentials for SMEs, for example. It could be employment and job creation. But the key thing is that we work hand in hand with our founders to work out what matters to them, what is their theory of change, and how can we support them in delivering those impactful outcomes. And then finally, as I mentioned, we are a commercial investor. And so we are looking for businesses that are highly scalable, really fast growing, and are operating in an exceptionally large market. Those 3 things are really, really critical to us. As I said, fast growing, highly scalable, and operating in an exceptionally large market. So I wanted to add this slide very quickly because I think a lot of people wonder about the venture model in Africa. We truly believe that Africa's constraints can be looked at as an opportunity or an advantage. They shouldn't be looked at as a disadvantage. So first of all, capital. There is definitely insufficient capital on the continent for the needs and for the opportunities. However, we believe that this insufficiency creates an opportunity in that founders have to be more disciplined and they have to be creative with the way that they're building, but it also means that we need to see those positive unit economics from day one. Infrastructure. I think this is a key one that everybody understands, but we again believe that this lack of infrastructure will drive creative thinking around the technology. So for example, there is a lot of hype in the Gen AI space, but what about predictive analytics and machine learning? You don't necessarily have to go for Gen AI to still play in AI. Data. Data scarcity is a real thing across the continent, but we believe that if you have proprietary data, that this is going to serve you and give you a fast mover advantage, provided that you create a continuous moat around that data. And then finally, talent. There are definitely shortages in terms of deep tech talent, but we believe that it is there. And we also support our founders in sourcing, locating, and nurturing that talent. That is it from me. Thank you so much. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to come and ask me more about Enza. Hi. So good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm good. I'm excited for this chat. But before we get to Enza and all the fun stuff that is, I want to know, outside of investor mode and everything else that's going on, who's Nonnie? And why founders?
Great question. Okay, so who's Nonnie? I am, first of all, a mother of 3.
Cool.
I have twins, and I think that was my biggest kind of
You have
personal.
twins?
Yeah, I have twins.
I'm on my first one. My God.
Wow. Okay, good luck. And I feel like that's my superpower. Having 2 children at the same time is nuts. But beyond that, I think that is the first thing about me. So mother of 3, and I adore my children. Beyond that, I really believe in founders. I believe that founders are some of the most courageous people that we have.
Yourself included.
They're trying to do something great.
Yeah.
They're trying to solve really meaningful problems.
Yeah.
And the truth about being a founder is a lot of the time you don't yet know the answer. So like you are being asked questions left, right, and center, whether it's
Right.
from your team, your customers, your investors, and you're having to get super creative and figure out the answer really, really, really quickly, consistently every
Yep.
single day. And so I have an enormous amount of respect for founders, and all I want to do is just support them in any way that I can. That's what really motivates me and drives me.
Do you think, and I feel like I've seen this myself recently, especially in like the last 2 years, how do you feel like being a former founder kind of gives you that level of founder empathy?
Yeah.
To sort of understand what they're actually going through? Like, do you feel like that has a big role to play?
Definitely. So I've been on the other side of the table. I'm actually an Antler founder. Nice to see you, Marie. And what I will say is the highs are high and the lows are really, really, really low. And, I think as an investor, if you have that level of understanding and relatability,
Yeah.
you can almost speak a different language to your founders. And so I do think that it does give me certainly an edge, as I have been there.
Right.
But also coming back to Enza for a second, one thing that is pretty unique about our team is we are mixed. We're a 10-person team, and every single person on our team has either been a venture-backed founder or a senior operating executive in a venture-backed startup. And so every single one of us brings that empathy, that
Wait,
relatability.
Mike too?
Yeah, Mike too.
I gotta ask him about that.
You can definitely check.
You guys talk about backing teams who are solving meaningful problems. What are some of the problems or challenges that you are currently super interested in seeing get solved?
Wow, that's a really good question. So first of all, we are a thematic investor.
Okay.
And so we have three
Core.
themes, as it
Yeah.
were. The first one is financial services, which I know is a sector, but we call it a theme. And we believe that founders who are kind of operating and solving in that financial services space are really solving a critical pain point for pretty much every African, whether it's on
Yeah.
the business side, the enterprise side, or the consumer side. And then the second area is human capital. So anything that touches
okay.
humans. So
Yeah.
it could be job tech, ed tech, health tech. Prop tech is a new one for us, and that's something that's
Okay.
super exciting. Yeah. We're a continent of over 1 billion people.
That's
and
true.
so we are always going to look for founders that are solving problems, again, for everyone.
Yeah.
And then the final area is climate smart. And in truth, this one has proved a little bit difficult because we've very much kind of doubled down on asset light.
Yeah.
And so we do have one investment in the climate smart space, which is kind of data aggregation and transparency and visibility. But climate smart continues to be incredibly important to us, just given how vulnerable the continent is to climate change.
Yeah.
And then just to add one more thing,
Yeah.
the thing that we're excited the most about is artificial intelligence. Whether
Okay.
it's predictive analytics or it's generative AI,
Right.
we're finding a number of incredible founders,
Yeah.
academic, technological, who are using AI, who are playing around with it, who are tinkering with it, to create these incredible, whether it's AI agents, voice agents,
Right.
whatever it is. We are finding some of these founders, and we're really excited about that space.
Interesting. I hope some of y'all are building in those spaces, and I'm going to look for Nonnie afterwards. Great person to speak to on these topics. I saw something interesting in your deck. Yeah, you're talking about constraint advantage, right? So scarcity creating discipline, fragmentation creating early moats. Can you unpack that a little bit and how that builds out the best startups and the best founders that you've seen on the continent?
Yeah, sure. I think, the perception of VC in Africa, it's a really nascent industry.
Yeah.
And a lot of people might have misperceptions around the continent's constraints. But we view them as actually being an opportunity, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So the first one is capital. We definitely don't have enough capital for the scale of opportunity and the needs. And so it is really competitive for everybody, whether it is trying to find LPs or, for the founders. However, what we want to see and what we are seeing is founders being really disciplined.
Okay.
I think that kind of growth at all costs has gone. The whole raise, acquire, burn, raise, acquire, burn. We're seeing, discipline, sensibility, and a real focus on unit economics and path to profitability. And I think that speaks to that kind of capital constraint. In terms of infrastructure, again, we need to be patient because a lot of the time founders might have one solution and they find that they're having to build out several other solutions just to get to their one solution. Yeah. But it means that maybe they are stitching up an entire value chain. Maybe they're really forcing themselves to go really deeply in a vertical. Yeah. And so again, we find that fragmentation, yes, it can make it a bit more time consuming, but actually maybe it is an advantage because you are creating that proprietary tech.
Right.
Data, our data is everywhere. It's literally everywhere. And so if you manage to have relationships that get you the data, or maybe in another previous lifetime, you're running a different business that acquired a lot of data, we're finding that having that kind of exclusive data for as long as you can have it is giving you a moat that other people don't have while they're trying to find it. But the thing is, the moat won't last very long. And so we really believe in kind of continuous moating. It's like, how are you continuing to innovate to ensure that you remain first mover, that your first mover advantage remains, because eventually everybody will have access to data.
The continuous moating bit is interesting. I can imagine that, for example, if I'm building out, I don't know, let's say in the ag space, maybe B2B, I built a certain moat, but there's obviously going to be a cap at some point, right? Like in terms of what I can actually sort of successfully pull out of the market and actually convert.
Yeah.
So obviously that's going to rely on me probably finding partners and champions within the ecosystem. How do you guys help founders with that?
Wow. So again, a really great question. First of all, there's 5 people here in Nairobi who all have incredibly deep and rich networks, whether it is in the kind of VC, PE space, or whether it's just in sort of corporate Kenya, whether it is in different sectors and verticals. I would say that being on the ground has been critical because we can kind of make those introductions. We can champion our founders and be their cheerleaders. We can take them to meetings. And so I have numerous examples of, doors that we have unlocked for founders so they can have conversations with people in the most senior spaces. I've got a colleague in Cairo, he's doing the same. Like Cairo is a really interesting ecosystem and he's on the ground, he speaks the language, he knows, he has very deep professional networks. We have John. John is our superpower. He's based in London, Sir John Lazar, and he is the chairman of the Royal College of Engineering, as well as chairman of the Raspberry Pi Foundation. John's networks are incredible. They're deeply global. The other day he was partying with Jensen Huang. And then we've got our 2 CTOs in residence. So one of them was the former CTPO for Yesir, one of the largest, fastest growing super apps on the continent. And our other CTO, Zui, is based in Joburg. So again, we're trying to ensure that we have coverage across the continent, but also relationships outside of just the VC PE space that we can really leverage for our founders.
Guys, you see how it's so much more than just capital? It's so much more than just what money they can give you and how they show up on your cap table. It's what doors do they open, whether it's commercial introductions, partner introductions. The team is very widespread, so even, market expansion. I think about market entry into other markets. They can definitely help you with that.
For sure.
So to close us out,
Yes.
this is going to be a bit of a hot question because I know there's some founders on your portfolio that are very good friends of mine.
Okay.
And you've worked with so many. What sort of behaviors have made you kind of lean in when you see a founder and you're like, okay, yeah, this is definitely it? And what are the ones that made you kind of like pull back a little bit and say, I don't know?
Okay, so I'm going to start with a pullback.
Okay.
Inconsistency.
Okay.
So if you're telling us one thing, but your data room is telling us an entirely different thing, then that is going to signal real red flags for us. So just make sure that your story and your evidence, i.e. the data, is consistent.
Yeah.
Because if we find any inconsistency, it's almost like a trust element has been lost.
Don't lie, guys. Don't lie in your data rooms.
Yeah. And then what do we love to see? Obsession.
Okay.
Yeah, no, literally. It is are you living, breathing your business? And we see some founders who are on a kind of conference circuit, kind of being loved, and maybe are really hard to get to.
Yeah.
And then we see some who it's like you ask them a question like, please may I have X, Y, Z? And in 5 seconds, it has been delivered to you. So I think it's one of those like, how badly do you want this? Like, is this what you are doing day in, day out?
Yeah.
That's what we love to see because we believe that those people will find a way no matter what.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Nonnie.
Thank
Can we
you.
give up a hand for Nonnie and Enza Capital?
Thank you so much.
Well done.